There's a very famous book written years ago called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And what I've learned is that whether you're talking about physical condition, mental condition, paying bills around your house, schoolwork, God bless, it's so much of your success or your struggles have to do with habits. Let me give you one that I used to be really bad at. There are 3 things that have ever been said bad about me as an employee. The first job I got fired from. It's not the first job I ever had. I had a couple of jobs before this. But I got fired from a job because I was working as a busboy. And the customers were complaining about the size of the portions of the food. They said the portions were too small. And rather than send the customer to the boss of the place, I decided to give my opinion. I did that a few times, and after a while, the boss said, enough is enough, and he fired me. That's the only job I was ever fired from. Now, what it was I was in the habit of giving my opinion when it wasn't asked for, and it got me in trouble. A second thing that was said years ago was that I missed meetings, and that was a true statement. I used to miss a lot of meetings, and I have since adjusted. I used to have a calendar on my desk, but now that's no longer needed. I have this beautiful thing called an iPhone. And there's the calendar app, or whatever you want to call it, and everything goes in that calendar app, and I live by that calendar app. So now, I believe this entire school year I've missed 1 meeting. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right? So, and that was just a mistake. And people do make mistakes. It's not a habit. And the third thing that could have been said negatively about me as a teacher, we had paperwork. I would mess up paperwork sometimes. And what I've learned now is I've developed certain habits, certain ways of doing things. And within the ways of doing things, I have stopped problems before I have stopped problems before they start. I apologize for this in advance. I hate these habits. Well, Rena, 5 minutes to guidance. I know, it's not your fault. I am upset, but I'm not upset with you, so don't think that I am. She said it's 5 minutes, so you don't have to bring your stuff with you. Okay. Now, there are practices, habits, that also make you really successful. One thing that I used to be was overweight, and it was really a matter of the way I lived my life. I didn't get enough exercise. I didn't eat healthy enough. I was always on the run. Now, I make it a point to try to get exercise daily or more, and I make it a point, like last night I actually had a fish fillet sandwich from Burger King, but I don't eat Burger King more than about once every month or two. And I try to eat healthy stuff. Like, I love cookies. I really love cookies. But more often than not, I eat trail mix, because trail mix is healthier for you than cookies are. So I'm not like in picture perfect shape. I'm not going to be on the cover of GQ anytime soon. But I'm in pretty decent shape. Certainly a lot better than I used to be. And it's a result of the habits that I have. Now, I don't know what you think of yourself as a student. I don't know if you say to yourself, man, I am a good student and I am doing as well in school as I want to do. Or if you say to yourself, I just don't do well in school. I want to do better and I don't. And it really comes down to some very simple habits. For example, when you come in the room, is the first thing that you want to do the work, or do you want to talk?
Talk.
If that's the case, you're obviously going to come into problems. When you're home, do you want to make sure you spend a little time thinking about your schoolwork, doing some homework, or do you not want to do that? God bless you. And lastly, when we go over the lesson, are you focused? Are you trying to say, what am I doing wrong and how do I correct it and do it right? Or are you saying like, oh, I don't want to do this? And sometimes you have to will yourself forward. In my own life, there are things I think are important, whether it be spiritual things, whether it be getting some exercise. And sometimes I just have to look up and go, I am going to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, for example, last night I worked until about 8:15, 8:30 at night. And then my wife had to talk to me about a couple of things when I got home. So by the time I was done with the conversation, it was 5 after 9 at night. And part of what I did was physical therapy. So I did get exercise and physical therapy. But I felt really bad because when I walked in the door, Ziva ran right to the front door, sat down next to it, and stared at her leash. So she's saying, okay, let's go for a walk now. This is what we do. And I wouldn't dare say the word. If I said walk, oh my God. Anybody have a dog whose dog knows what the word walk means?
No.
And they're like bouncing off the walls like, oh yeah, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go, oh yeah. And I wouldn't dare say the word. I wouldn't breathe it because I knew what the problem was. So I apologized profusely to my dog and swore that when I get home today at about 3:15, I will walk in the door and immediately take her on a nice long walk. And try to, I can't go to the beach because I have to go to the library tonight from 5:30 to 7:30. So I will get that done. It's habits. So much of success and failure really comes down to habits. No, you cannot go to the bathroom. What do you need? My ears are clogged today, Michael. I'm sorry. What? And it's about my job? What is it? Guys, I'm really having a hard time hearing Mike. Can you try to...
How old were you when you started this job?
This job? Just turned 22. Yeah, I'm old. I'm 52 in another 2 months.
Only one number off.
So I am 30 years of doing this, boy. And you want to hear something really cool? If you walk, you know where Carmen meets South Ocean over there?
Yeah.
If you go down 2 houses on the left, that was my first apartment in Patchogue. There's an upstairs there. In fact, the apartment had just been redone and I lived up there.
When is your birthday?
June 4th. The whole country celebrates it a month later. Get that? July 4th. Okay. All right. Now, I just want you to know one last thing about where really good habits can get you. Really good habits have me in pretty good shape right now. I'm not in great shape, but I am in pretty good shape. And the other thing about habits, that where it can get me is just by learning to do things the right way and trying to have the best habits. And believe me, these things did not come naturally to me. Organization does not come natural to me. Attending meetings does not come natural to me. Keeping track of paperwork does not come naturally to me. But I've learned to do it, and because of that, in 3 more years, I never have to go to work again. Retirement. I'll have a pension, be in decent shape.
We'll miss you.
You know what? Here's the deal. I will miss you guys, and that is a true statement. But I want you to know, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody else. Once you graduate high school, we can be Facebook friends. And then I can keep track of how you're doing in your life. I have lots and lots and lots of former students who, once they graduate high school, I get to see how they're doing in their lives, and it's very rewarding to me to see how well they're doing. Lots of them now have kids of their own, and they're out in the world, and they got jobs. I had a very uplifting moment the other night. This was a great moment.
Why?
Anybody here an Islander fan?
Oh,
I am.
Okay, a former student of mine named Alexandra Coleman.
Oh, I know him.
Her.
Oh.
Alexandra went with her boyfriend to a Ranger game, and she wore a Ranger jersey, and she used to be an Islander fan, and now she's a Ranger fan. So I was so happy to see her improving in her choice of teams and life getting better. It was just a beautiful thing. It was just uplifting to see that. It was really, really, really a special moment in time. Okay, so we take a look at this first diagram here. Excuse me. Part of the habits is knowing when to be quiet and when to get to work, right? Find the value of x in the diagrams. It says angle ABF. Now remember what I said that was so great about the old website is it taught me where kids struggled, and I never understood that kids had a hard time figuring out what was angle ABF. Just put your pen on A, draw to B, down to F. That is angle ABF. And according to this, it's 4x minus 11. Then it says angle BFG. So I'm going to go from here to here to here. That's angle BFG. And that is 2x plus 25. So the first question I need to ask you is, are those two angles equal, complementary, supplementary? What do you think? Equal, very good. There are three reasons why these two angles have to be equal, three explanations. What's one explanation? Somebody volunteer one way you know they have to be equal. Alan? Actually, they're acute, but that's a good way to do it. But he's looking, yeah, but here's the thing. See, if you screw up acute and obtuse, but you do it both times, you still get it right. So Alan's way of thinking is right. He's saying they're the same type of angle. Even if he labeled the angle wrong, his way of thinking was right. All right, so one way is they're both acute. What's another way of saying it? How do you know they have to be equal? Kayla? I'm sorry? After drag and drop, right? If I do drag and drop, the 4x minus 11 lands over here, and they're equal. Good. The third way has to do with the vocabulary we taught you yesterday. Are these interior or exterior angles? Interior. Are they switching sides? Look again. Are they switching sides of the transversal? Yes. So we call it alternate interior angles, and we know that they're always going to be equal. If you were taking a test, the explanation they would want, if they said, why do the angles have to be equal? They would want you to write alternate interior angles are equal. Okay, so find x, they're equal to each other, so that means that 4x minus 11 has to equal 2x plus 25. Same side, opposite side? Opposite, so minus the 2x, and I get 2x minus 11 is 25. Add the 11. 2x is 36. Divide by 2, and I get that x is 18, and that is the answer to part A. Part B says angle ABF. That's this guy, so I have to plug in the 18. So I substitute the 18. 4 times 18 is 72. Minus 11 is 61. And then last, it says angle HFG. Now, when I look for that one, I go from here to here to here. Now, is that angle equal to angle ABF? No, because angle ABF is acute. What's angle HFG? Obtuse. So they add up to 180, so I would do 180 minus 61 is 119 degrees. Okay? Any question on that? Now, to me, that's an important question for you to be able to know how to do. If you do know how to do it, then you can handle one of the more involved kind of questions that you're going to get on the test this Friday. Okay? All right, so now let's go to the next one. All right, so again, one of the things I want to emphasize, and this is one of the things that I learned when we had that Data Mentor website, and what was so important to me, is students were not able to identify the angles they were talking about in the diagram. So now I always take the time, I have a habit of going back and making sure that you can see how to write this angle. It says find the measure of angle NYJ. N to Y to J. And you bet, Kevin, Mountain Man, you know I named it NYJ for New York Jets. You just know that, right? That's absolutely why I named it.
I like Giants.
I like the Giants too, I really do. I just like the Jets more.
I don't.
So,
I like Giants.
oh, okay, that's all good. Let it float your boat.
I like the Steelers. I like the Nets.
Did you notice how we can talk about math for 10 minutes and not hear a sound? I bring up the Jets or the Giants. Oh, wow. If you guys showed as much interest in the mathematics, you would get that stuff right like you do sports.
You fine.
Okay,
I like the Yankees.
excuse me. The measure of angle NYJ, if FYB, F to Y to B, is 3n plus 12, and NYJ is 7n minus 20. Are those two angles equal, complementary, supplementary? What do you think?
Vertical.
Equal. Now, they are equal because they're vertical, okay? We know all vertical angles are equal. Remember, isn't it true that I could rotate this top set of angles and it would land directly on top of the bottom angle here?
Yeah.
So you can tell by a rotation that they have to be the same size and shape. So therefore, 7n minus 20 equals 3n plus 12. Opposite side, opposite operation, just as before. 7n minus 3n is 4n, minus 20 is 12. Add the 20 to both sides. 4n equals 32, divide by 4. I know I'm going kind of quick here, but you know what? The truth is we've done a lot like this, so we should be pretty comfortable. N works out to be 8. Hey, I have a question for you. How many people got that n is 8? I'm looking around the room. We're probably at about 2/3 to 3/4 of the kids. Okay, next. Says solve for the variable. I did that. Then it says find the measure of angle NYJ. So I have to take the 8 and substitute it. What's 7 times 8? 56 minus 20? 36. Yes.
36.
I still got 8, but I don't know what I did. I put 4 instead of, no, I put, yeah, 4 instead of 3, but I got, because I put the 3 down.
You probably subtracted wrong in the opposite direction and it came out to the same number after the subtraction. It came out with 4 here.
Yeah.
So that means any mistake prior to that doesn't matter because you still lucked out and got the 4. Okay, angle relationship. What do we call these angles again? What is it? They are equal, but what's the relationship they share? What makes them equal? They are vertical. Very good. All right, so we have vertical angles here. They're equal, they're congruent, and so on. Now, we get to the next type of problem, which again, and you know, I want to emphasize this so much. In fact, I just saw a kid today, just today, a kid was asking me, what do I have to do about opting out of this test? And I said, listen, you got to get that note in. You can't just, you know, walk in and say it. You got to have your parents approve it. And then I said, you know, one of the best things that I learned from this test, you know, the current test, they don't let me see the question. The old test, they do. And I used to think kids could get this kind of question right. And the kids struggled with it. So I realized my problem was I didn't teach the kids the diagram enough. So it says here, AB intersects CD at E. So you have to learn to draw the diagram. AB is just a line. CD is just a line. Now, what does that word intersect mean? Cuts across. And it cuts across each other at E. So the first thing I learned was once I drew this diagram for the kids, they could get it right. But you have to be able to draw the diagram. So learn how to do that. Josh?
For B and C, once we get like the number notes, can you like go over it slow because I'm like confused.
Oh, yeah, okay. So now, it says the measure of angle AEC. Let's draw angle AEC. Put the pen on A, go to E, go to C, and that is 4n minus 1. Then it says BED. So I'm going to put the pen on B, go to E, down to D. And that would be n plus 26. Now, what kind of angles are these? Vertical, and they're going to be equal. Good. So 4n minus 1 equals n plus 26. Now, based on your question, Chelsea, I almost get the idea that you're like, I could solve the equation easily. I could follow that. So let's do it. Minus the n. 3n minus 1 is 26. Add 1. 3n is 27. Dividing by 3. N is 9. And we have answered part A. Now we get to part B. It says, what's the measure of angle AEC? Now this is AEC. And what I know AEC is 4 times n minus 1. But what was n? 9. So what is, I'm going to substitute a 9 in for n. So this becomes 4 times 9 minus 1. What's 4 times 9? Minus 1. So that is the answer to B.
Yeah, I got that one. It's not.
Okay, now let's go on to C. Measure of angle AEB. A to E to B. We haven't talked too much about that, but that angle is actually a straight line. If I followed it with a hoop, it would be this angle, right? How many degrees is that? What is it? 180. That's exactly right. You don't even have to figure it out. It's a straight line. It's a half a circle. Half a circle is 180.
Wouldn't they want, like, use that with the other, with the like,
I'm sorry, what was that?
when they have the X, like that, but you put, would they put more lines in it? Or it's just-
They could. It's possible. You know, different diagrams are different ways. I think we got a couple of new diagrams coming up tomorrow. All right, so now, let's go to the next question. Turn the page. All right. Find A and B. Keep in mind, this guy here is 35. Okay, what is angle A? Everybody? 35, good. Angle B? 35. If I wanted to know this one, what would it be? This one up here? What did you say? 145 is right. 180 minus 35 is 145. Now, can someone give me an explanation why these are both 35 degrees? There are three explanations I'm looking for. Alan? They are not vertical angles. Vertical angles would be like these two. Question two. No. Why do they have to be equal to each other? Elizabeth, what's one reason? Right, and what do we call it when you drag and drop and land on top? Those are the corresponding angles. That's actually the toughest way to explain it, is that they're corresponding angles. The second way is they're both acute. If they're both acute, they're going to be equal. And the third way is similar to it. By dragging and landing on top, they have to be the same. But the other way is to use the term corresponding angles. Okay. Now, what transformation? Let me erase all of this markings that I made here. Oh. If we take a look at this, guys. Now remember your transformations. Transformations are reflection, rotation, dilation, translation. A reflection's a flip. A dilation is you grow it, make it bigger or smaller. A rotation's a spin or a turn. A translation's a slide. Which one of those four accounts for saying that angle A has to equal 35? Which of those could you do to make it get there? Could you flip it? Could you spin it? Could you grow it? Could you slide it? Which one of those, Jeff? You could slide it. And remember, a slide is a translation. So I could either slide up or down. I'll slide up. I could take this whole set of angles right here, and I could slide the set of angles up top, and the 35 would end up right here. So I can also use transformations to arrive at that, the value. Any questions? Okay, let's go to the next one.
Bless you.
God bless. Okay, this is 117 degrees. Find A and B. God bless. Find A and B, guys. You could slide it like a translation, which is another way of saying drag and drop. Okay. You can look for alternate interior. You can look for alternate exterior. You can look for consecutive angles. You can do any of that to try to figure out why you get the values you get. Okay, now, if I slide this set of angles up, let's do a translation here. I'm going to slide this set of angles up. I push it. God bless. A goes there, B goes there. Who wants to tell me the value of angle A? Marco?
117.
117. Very good. We know that because when we do our translation, these two guys become vertical. Is angle B also 117? Jay, what do you get? 63 is correct. It's supplementary to 117 because together they make a straight angle. I should say also called supplementary. Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, let's go to the next diagram. Solve for x. time you do this, you're asking yourself, are they equal to each other, or do they add up to 180? In this diagram, you almost never get 90. Only if it was perpendicular lines would you get 90. Okay, let's, everybody shut your eyes, please. How many vote that these two angles are equal? Ulysses, shut your eyes. How many vote that the two angles are equal? How many vote that the two angles add up to 180? All right, most of you didn't vote, which I'm disappointed in. Open your eyes. But 5 people said that they add up to 180. 3 people said they are equal to each other. They add up to 180. Okay? What kind of angle is this, acute or obtuse? What kind of angle is this? Acute. If I translated this up, if I slid it up, wouldn't they make a straight line? They're next to each other, they're adjacent, they're consecutive. So those things always add up to 180 degrees. So therefore, 4x minus 12 plus 2x plus 24. This is the second angle, this is the first angle. Together they add up to 180. So I have 6x. Now, careful, that's a negative 12. Negative 12, positive 24 is plus 12, is 180. Minus the 12. I didn't say it, but this is the same side situation. 6x is 168, dividing by 6, and I get x is 28. Okay? All right, so I think the problem said find x, and then it says, can you give 2 explanations for why they are? All right, we just said that you can slide them up and so on. All right, so x works out to 28. Any question on that? All right, a little bit of a new diagram. Let's work this one up. This time we have double sets of parallel lines.
On a pen.
What's angle n?
Pen.
I don't want to say a word. Just work it out. Oh, figure out what angle n works out to be. Okay, now, just concentrating on the top set of angles, if this guy's 31, can I translate this to the right and say that's also 31? Kind of a drag and drop, land on top, they are corresponding angles. Now, let's turn around and instead, let's focus on this set of angles. If I drag the 31 down here and drop, it ends up here, making the n and the 31 what kind of angles? They are equal, they're also called vertical, so n has to be 31. Okay? Any questions? Good, we got another one just like it. Go ahead, try it. Turn the page.
Lucy, come home.
God bless. Okay, anybody think they got this angle? How much do you think it's going to be? Kayla, what do you think? 103 is correct. Now, a couple of ways to arrive at it. One way is to say, look, this 103, if I translate it, I'm going to come over to here. That makes this 103. Then if I translate it down here, it would land on top corresponding. Another way to look at it, these two are vertical. This is 103. I'll take this whole set of angles Translate it down to here, also 103. And the other way you could do it is you could say they're all obtuse. Since they're all obtuse, they all have to be equal to each other. This only works when the diagrams or when the lines are parallel, okay? Any question about this? Okay, if you take a look at tonight's homework, so much of your test on Friday is going to be similar to this homework. So if you do a great job on the homework, tomorrow we'll ask you if you have any questions about it, and then we'll go over it, okay?
Both these on the hot track.